Today on the show, we have Joshua Ray Walker. His new album is See You Next Time. Joshua, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
The song you just heard is his big, sonically out-of-character little single, Sexy After Dark. So I have to ask, do you feel sexier in the dark?
Yeah, I'd say so. Don't you?
Yeah, I gotta admit, I know that I am lacking in certain physical attractiveness departments at times, but not in the dark. It's a little harder to tell.
Yeah, and that's the point of the song. I mean, I think everybody has a little more confidence in a dark bar, and it's not just about the darkness as much as the setting that the song is in. It's supposed to take place in this, this dim lit kind of dive bar. And I think those sort of places can give you a little bit of confidence as well. You're running into characters you're not sure if you're ever going to see again.
Yeah, you mentioned that the setting is sort of allowing the conscience to take a break as well. Is this like, is seduction in dive bars this morally ambiguous show of swagger to you?
It can be. I think that was poking fun at, maybe drinking a little too much at the bar, and, your self-conscious tendencies tend to melt away with a little bit of liquid courage. And so, yeah, I was just taking note of that.
You write an awful lot of songs that take place in dive bars and honky-tonks. Tell me about playing those settings in so many places around the country for so many years.
I mean, in a lot of ways, if you've played one dive bar, you kind of played all the dive bars. There's a reoccurring cast of characters you run into in every city. Everybody kind of has their archetype that they're living up to. And that's probably where the idea for some of these songs came from. I mean, all three of my albums are a trilogy about this fictional honky-tonk I made up. And, I think the characters are familiar to anyone who's kind of taken a dive into that culture. And so, yeah, I think they're relatable. I think they're, somewhat, common as you go from city to city. The type of person, not, everyone's story is different and everyone's unique, but there's certain roles that are filled, at every dive bar.
Yeah, I'm not a drinker. So I am that music nerd who shows up in a dive bar, is totally out of place, but knows the words to all the songs.
Sure. That's definitely a character you find fairly often. I don't know if that character made it onto the albums, but that's an interesting point. That's an interesting one. I'm going to have to think about that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if my life would necessarily make for a great country song, but it's a little too mild-mannered to, hit some of those highs or lows or funny notes.
Well, everyone, there's something funny in everyone's life. I love writing songs about little things that happen that seemingly maybe shouldn't have a song written about them. So you never know. I mean, I'm sure you could write a whole album around your life if you tried.
Well, I guess I'll get to work on that. So this fictional dive bar you've created, do you have like individual characters in your head?
I do, yeah.
Okay. I want you to introduce me to the one you would most like to get a drink with.
The one that I would most like to get a drink with.
Yes.
Okay, let me think through the characters real quick.
Alright.
Multiple of the characters reoccur from one album to the next. So there's a cast of characters, and some of them have multiple songs and that sort of thing. The one that I would like to get a drink with the most. Well, there's one that sticks out to me. I wrote a few songs about this character, and he's one of those guys who it's really fun to have one or two drinks with him, but then, you kind of grow tired. He's this weird kind of conspiracy theorist, guy who makes, interesting conversation for a short time, and then you have to try to get rid of him. And he appears in the songs Cupboard from the second album, and also Welfare Chat from the third album.
So, I'll play Covered. FCC regulations say it's real complicated, but I can play 4 songs from a person, but only 3 from one album. So it is great to have a 4th song from a different album to play.
Great.
I also ask each of my guests to pick a song by another artist when they come on the show. And I have a little category for each of them. And for you, Joshua, I think it's only appropriate that I ask, what is one of your favorite songs from another artist that takes place in a honky-tonk or dive bar?
Oh, man. The one that immediately jumped into my brain is Prop Me Up Against the Jukebox When I Die, the Joe Diffie song.
Yes! Yes!
I love weird, just weird subject matter in songs, and the guy who wrote that song, I believe, also wrote John Deere Green and Earl's Gotta Die for the Chicks and Queen of My Double Wide Trailer for Sammy Kershaw. The name is escaping me at the moment, but he's one of my favorite writers because he really manages to cram a lot of weird stuff into songs that ultimately became pop country songs. But yeah, Prop Me Up Against the Jukebox When I Die, the Joe Diffie version, I think that would probably be my go-to honky-tonk song.
And we'll also hear Covered, and we will be right back with Joshua Ray Walker. The new album is See You Next Time.